Life as a disabled person in Britain could soon become rather a lot harder. They're now being asked to prove face-to-face that they deserve the help that until recently had been taken for granted. RT's Polly Boyker reports.
Lisa Egan's bones break so easily she's already sustained 66 fractures in her 33 years. She has to use a wheelchair and is one of 3.2 million Brits claiming the Disability Living Allowance, or DLA, which helps those who are unable to move around freely because of physical disability. But it's being replaced by a new personal independence payment. The looming change will see stricter assessments for determining whether or not disabled people deserve taxpayers' money. Lisa says she's terrified she could lose the monthly payments.
If I lost everything, I'd basically condemned to a life of houseboundness. My quality of life would be virtually non-existent. But at the moment, it's just really unclear.
DLA currently comes in two parts, a core payment of up to £77.45 a week and a mobility component worth up to £54. That mobility component means Lisa is provided with a car, which she says is the one thing that keeps her from being housebound. Whether or not she gets to keep what she calls her lifeline will become clear over the next year and a half as the new PIP scheme is rolled out and DLA is replaced.
It's scary, and I feel like I'm, laying on a guillotine and the blade's there and I don't know if it's going to drop or not.
Does that take a sort of a mental toll?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to elaborate on that one on camera, though.
And yet the government is on a mission to drastically reform the welfare state.
Today, almost £1 in every 3 spent by the government goes on welfare. In a world of fierce competitiveness, a world where no one is owed a living, we need to have a welfare system that the country can properly afford.
In order to do that, private companies Atos Healthcare and Capita have been drafted in to run the assessments for the changeover from Disability Living Allowance to PIP. Their reputation precedes them. They've already carried out assessments for people receiving incapacity benefits, another type of welfare payment to those who are suffering an illness that renders them unable to go to work.
Many people out there really do worry that the assessments for PIP are going to be very similar to the ones that are currently held for employment and support allowance and the work capability assessments. And we've heard of so many cases of abuses, of people being treated badly at medicals, of people not being listened to. And in so many cases where people have lost benefit as a consequence of one of these assessments, they've appealed and the appeal has been overturned by a tribunal.
Last month, brain-damaged amputee Mark Evans, who can't walk or talk, was classified as fit for work after one such assessment. His story isn't the worst. The government's own figures show that 1,300 people died after being told they should go back to work by Atos Healthcare. And now they're preparing to assess DLA claimants. A recent survey found 1 in 5 doctors say disabled patients have committed or attempted to commit suicide as a result of undergoing or fear of undergoing the assessments for work capability.
They are exceedingly vulnerable.
Some days I think, yes, I am a worthwhile human being and I, deserve the subsistence level benefits that keep me alive. But then other days, you're forced into questioning, well, am I really worth it?
Whether or not the government thinks Lisa is worth it, she'll find out in 2015 when her assessment comes. But to critics, the changes are about saving money rather than making the system fairer.
My personal view is that compassion is not manifest in what we're seeing here. These changes do not represent a compassionate society.
Polly Boyko, RT, London.